Welcome to our podcast, Coffee and the 6 F's, brought to you by CrossFit Camrose. We are a health and wellness podcast that wants to change the perspective away from only treating individual aspects of the human and expecting them to live healthy and fulfilled lives as a byproduct. We aim to do this by inviting experts in the categories of the 6 F's: fitness, family, freedom, future, finances, and faith. We also believe that one of the most impactful things a person can do for someone is to share their own personal stories in the effort to help others. So, we'll also do that for you. I'm your host, Matthew Chenard, and I look forward to sharing this time with you. Enjoy. To today's podcast, we are going to chat with Thomas Regier, coach at CrossFit Camrose. We dive into a lot of different topics today: how to take action on books you've read, how he became a trainer at CrossFit Camrose, and how he's helping people with that mindset and how it can affect your results in and out of the gym, and chronic disease. That's a big one. So enjoy the show.
Well, hey, Matt.
Welcome to, I had my announcer voice on there. Welcome.
Oh, cool.
Welcome to the podcast today. We're excited to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yep, you bet. So Tom, you're a group coach at the gym, personal trainer, media marketing team. We do the movement resolution side of it, which is like a strength and conditioning, prehab, rehab type service. And we hadn't talked about this yet, but those are things you do. Catch you off guard here, if you strip those all away, who is Tom?
He is someone who's passionate about helping people live and feel better, live healthier, live happier. The big thing lately that I've been studying up a lot, because the CrossFit Level 3 is an exam that I'm looking to take in the near future, and reading up on all the stats on chronic disease and all that sort of stuff. It all comes down to, helping people live healthier, happier lives in the long run.
Yep.
And that's kind of, I guess, what I want to do. I don't know if it's not necessarily who I am. Like you said, I remember listening to you and Jaleesa's podcast.
Yep.
It doesn't define.
It's a really hard question.
It doesn't define you. It is super hard. But instead of saying something like, I am a coach or I am a personal trainer, it's, I am somebody who wants to help people live healthier, happier lives.
Right. Which kind of is what aligns quite well with our gym's vision, right? To help people live holistically well. And that's the whole idea. Is I think people get so fixated on different aspects of fitness, where I list off a bunch of things that you do, but those are all just different services that help people live happier, healthier lives, which you said, right?
Exactly. They're the tools.
Yep. You touched on that you are reading. You love to read, don't you? Like, you probably have, how many books do you have on the go? 10, 20?
No, I have a lot lined up, but I usually have so far this year, I've kind of trying to do a 52 book challenge.
Yep.
It's called. So averaging a book a week for a full year. I usually I'm reading one hard copy book and listening to one at the same time.
Yep.
And then those are the books, and then studying for my level 3 at the same time. So I do a fair bit of reading.
Yep. And do you find that you're able to take action on all the books that you're reading? Or is it there's sometimes that you become so saturated with, let's call it knowledge, that's hard to take action on little aspects? Or
yeah, it can be. But I'm finding that a lot of the books that I'm reading actually overlap quite a bit. And so it kind of like almost, I'm trying to go through the books that are connected in one way or another.
Yep.
And then it makes it a lot easier to implement those types of things, because they kind of repeat on themselves. And then it's like, hey, I read this one book on productivity, let's say. There's another book that's very, very similar, and they talk about similar things. So I'm able to implement that a lot better because I'm reading those books for, let's say, 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's the same topic, and am able to implement that a lot better than if I were to just try to read through books as fast as I can. Like, I read a lot, but it's not like I'm reading 4 hours a day and just ripping through as many books as possible.
Yep.
I read when I feel like I'm gonna be able to process it and it's gonna sink in. Like if it starts to not sink in, I'll just stop reading and go to bed and then pick up the next day.
No, it's awesome. And like you said, there's a lot of similarities in books when you start to look at them. And I think a lot of times we talk about how many books we read, but people don't actually take action on them. And that's the biggest part, is the books are there to actually utilize. And you're someone who, you're kind of like me, is you take action quick. And maybe sometimes I know it for myself. I'm like, maybe I should have waited a little bit before I did that. But I think there's a lot of good tools and wisdom that can come from that, from, hey, this wasn't the best, but I think that that's where the real fruit is in reading, is actually applying it right away. Because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't apply it, and to help people or to help those around you, what does it actually mean? You're just trying to gain more knowledge for the sake of gaining more knowledge.
I'm someone who definitely learns better by doing. So, I mean, you can read about it, but then I need to go and apply it pretty soon. Otherwise, it's just going to slip my mind. And kind of what you touched on there about just gaining knowledge for the sake of knowledge. So I heard a good quote, like, knowledge isn't the power, action is power. Right. So you need to be able to understand what you're reading, but then take that and implement it into action. And that's where the true learning and growth is going to come from. Like you said, maybe you take action a little bit too soon, or you think it's too soon, but are you just going to wait for the quote unquote right time?
Yeah.
There's never going to be a right time.
No, perfection's the stops progression, right? So someone said that better than I just said it, but that's the quote anyway. What, we haven't even got to the hot beverages yet, but I want to keep on this topic for a little bit. Because I just found a new passion for reading. I'm not even joking when I say this, but I've probably read, well, I could say that it's about a 300% increase. I probably read 2 books outside of school my whole life, maybe 5, let's say 5. And I've read a lot more. And I think why this is because it's stuff I'm passionate on, right? I can see how it affects things around me. I think that's the biggest thing, I think we also need to read books that have nothing to do with learning either, just to kind of unwind. But what would be the book that you would say made the biggest impact on your life and that you took action on once you took action on it, or even just mindset wise? Because mindsets, if you read a book and it changes your mindset, that's an action too, right? And you use that mindset for something.
There are so many.
What's the one book, if you don't have one in your head, what's one book right now that you're really enjoying, or in the recent?
Well, there were a lot in the recent, like just these last few months, I guess, was when I started really, like the new year, basically. I made a commitment to try to start reading more. The one that I guess changed my mind a lot in regards to business, but not only life in general too, was infinite and finite games.
Yeah.
Switching your mindset, like in business or in life, to thinking about not winning, because those are things that your goal of those games is just to stay in it, right? It's not you can't win at business. The only way you win at business or you win at life is to live a long, healthy life. The way to win at business is to stay in the game for as long as possible.
Yep.
And as soon as you get away and think of it more in a finite mindset, for those of you who maybe don't know what we're talking about, Finite Games, or Infinite and Finite Games is a book by Simon Sinek.
Yes.
And finite games, you're basically, there's a set of rules, and there's a certain time period, and by the end of the game, there's a score, and the person with the highest score, the team with the highest score, wins. In business or life, what's the score? What's the metric that we're measuring? How do you win?
Right.
Like, is it gross sales? Is it, I don't know, total revenue for this month? And
getting this many people fit or whatever else.
And then it's an arbitrary measure over a specified period of time. It's not about longevity. Mm-hmm. So that was a big one. And I think that can be applied to, like I said, life in general and health and fitness as well, right? Thinking with more of an infinite mindset and not hopping on those 6-week challenges or 40-day challenges, whatever they are. I mean, that can be a stepping stone.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But if you approach that 6-week, 40-day challenge and think of it as this is going to fix me completely, or this is going to help me, and then I'll never need to do anything else again.
Right.
That's maybe not the right mindset. Think of it as a stepping stone and a way to start developing some good habits that are going to take you long term and going to help you in the long run for the rest of your life.
No, I really enjoyed that book too. It chatted about having a cause, a bigger cause than yourself, something that you can actually reach. Because then once you have something that you can actually reach, you create a legacy for people following you that they actually want to try to attain that too. And as we try to reach this goal, help others around us, we're just making the world a better place, right? And we can create little goals around that. So let's say the bigger goal in the gym is to become, like your why is so that you can play with your grandkids for a really long time. While a 6-week challenge might be the first stepping stone. And once you complete that 6-week challenge, then you move on to something else, right? But you always have in the back of your head, this is my end goal. Like, this is what I want to continue doing. And I think that's what people kind of get. It can be kind of a letdown, I guess, if you just look at once you reach this goal, then that was the only reason you did it, right? So in precision nutrition, they talk a lot about the 5 whys and basically asking yourself the question why over and over again until you get to the real reason you want to do something, right?
Yeah. So for example, like if you want to lose 20 pounds, ask yourself, why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Yeah. And then ask why to that question. Ask why to that next question. Exactly. And then you get to the real reason why. So as soon as you lose that 20 pounds, if that was your goal, then what? Right? There's always got to be a bigger, a greater purpose, I guess, like a better meaning. And that's kind of where the name for our nutrition program and
our athlete
program,
for the gym.
Yeah, and slogan, it all comes from. There's always something greater at play, and I think that the mission of the gym and like kind of personal mission too, it's ties in very, very similarly to like help everyone live holistically well, right? It's something that we're probably never going to achieve, right? But it's striving for that every day and working towards that every day.
Well, it's the process, right?
Exactly.
The process of getting to that end goal is actually what changes you. And if you're so fixated on this one end goal and not looking at the process, then you can lose sight of why you're actually doing it. The real goal is, like, obviously you want to get everyone as many people as we can holistically well. But as we reach for that end goal, we're actually helping people along the way, right? Like, so we might not be able to help everyone, but we're at least helping a few people along the way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the more the better.
The more the better. Well, this is good. So because there is a little bit of break here, let's talk about what we're drinking. We're drinking Goat Coffee. It's a store, coffee shop rather, right by us. And I asked what kind of coffee it was, and all I heard was espresso. Not all I heard, but all I understood was espresso. So it's an espresso. But what kind of coffee are you drinking?
I don't know, excuse me, what the bean specifically is. It's a long black.
Yep.
And I usually get coconut oil in my coffee.
Oh, I think, I don't want to take credit, but I think I might have turned you on to that.
You twisted my arm there. Actually, well, not twisted. You just kind of, I don't know if you just brought me the same thing that you normally get one day, or I forget what it was.
Tastes good.
Yeah, it tastes very good.
Actually, I did coconut milk for a while. And if I'm being honest, that was really good. Just blended in. And what, obviously you're going to get a bunch of different opinions, but why coconut oil in your coffee, Tom?
I personally like the taste.
Yep.
I think, or coconut milk, like just and it's a healthy fat. Coconut's a healthy way to get some good fats in.
Yep.
I've read of some studies and heard of some studies that say, they're maybe not the most conclusive, but that fat, or it helps to mobilize your fat stores a little bit better when mixed with caffeine. Not sure the total legitimacy of that, but
just tastes great too.
That's the biggest thing for me. So
taking that aside, why do you like drinking coffee besides all the benefits?
Yeah. I like the taste now. I never used to like the taste, but it's just kind of a relaxing thing to do in the morning.
So it's the feeling tied to it too.
I love waking up and then making a pot of coffee. The smell just as relaxing as well. Or not a pot. I guess I have a
whole pot of coffee.
Not a whole pot. Yeah. I don't drink a whole pot. Maybe 1 cup in the morning. And then
You come in the gym just raring to go.
I would be off the wall. But no, I'll wake up, have 1 cup, and then as I'm drinking my 1 cup, I'm doing some reading or some studying. And I find it doesn't necessarily like make me super energetic or hyper. It's kind of a focusing thing, actually.
Yep.
Yep. Helps me zone in a little bit.
Yep. I love coffee too, so we're good to go there.
Yep.
We're going to chat a bit about, well, we're going to just kind of let the conversation go where it wants to. We already talked about some books, and you're doing your level 3, which is an intensive certification through CrossFit. Lots of studying for that, which is great. You have been a coach at CrossFit Camrose for how long now?
In September this year, it'll be 4 years. So 3.5. Well,
Okay.
3.5-ish.
Okay, awesome. Let's take a look at how you got to becoming a coach, like what made you want to be a coach, and as well as your journey along the way of being a coach.
Where do we start? Like when I was 5. Blah,
When I
blah,
was
blah.
5, I knew as soon as I picked up that weight.
No. I guess I'd always had a fairly active family. Like growing up, it was just a thing that physical activity or playing sports needed to be
Yeah.
was just part of the thing, part of your life. And then came to college here in Camrose and started playing volleyball, started training a little bit more, really loved it. But the whole way, like since high school, the goal was to get into physiotherapy the whole way through. And that was dead set on that, even straight through my 5th year in school when I was graduated, and applied, got an interview at the U of A and got on the wait list, didn't get in. So then I kind of reverted to backup plan, which was to get personal training certification. And I kind of had connections to this gym through a buddy that I played volleyball with. So I reached out to this gym and then came on in, and that's kind of how it all got started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you first started being, so the process was you were a member here for about 6 months just to see if you kind of fit our values and what you're about. And obviously we made the right decision in that. And you're now part of the staff for a while now. Did you have a expectation before you came in on what being a trainer was or being a coach? And did it change as you start to go along?
It changed huge. Like initially I thought, personal trainers were just kind of like the jocks who weren't smart enough to go anywhere else. And that's what I figured a personal trainer was. And then as we went through the mentorship process to becoming a coach, and the amount of time that was put into that, which looking back was like super, super valuable. And the amount of stuff I learned there just on the things that you don't think about before maybe you start coaching a group class or start coaching individuals in and of themselves, like how to organize a group class and like how it's so much more about the personal aspect as well, not just knowing the movements and knowing how to time-wise, like how to organize your class, how to structure your session with a personal training client, but the personal connection as well shifted big time. And then I don't know, initially it was like I said, was set on physiotherapy and the rehab world. And then the more I got into the personal training and group class area, it was like I feel like we have the best job, like one of the most important jobs in the world in regards to prevention, right?
Yep.
Like, just like I said, going through the level 1, looking at how all the stats on chronic disease and how much of it is preventable, we can be that kind of forefront that fights against it.
Yeah.
Lifeboats, they call us.
Lifeboats. It's hard. It's such a hard thing because I like analogies. Let's say your house is on fire. You put the fire out. You can see that you put the fire out. But let's just say you took preventative actions to make sure that your house never lit on fire. You're never going to know what you prevented. And that's the hard thing. And even when people start the fitness journey, you don't know what you're preventing. And we don't really see what we're preventing. But that's why you have to tie it back to the connection part, which you touched on. You can be the most amazing, like super knowledgeable, know everything about movement, energy systems, and all this other stuff. But if you don't know how to connect to people, if you know how to create that relationship, it's all for naught, right? Because fitness takes time. Creating the relationship for that needs to be there, and time is the one thing that makes sure you have lasting results, right?
Absolutely. And consistency. And
Yes.
that comes from, like you said, building the relationship and being able to hold that person accountable, or the community aspect that we have here as well.
Yep.
It keeps people coming back. And I would say that, my perspective shifted huge from thinking that you're just a jock
Right.
who was athletic and now
Yep.
you're getting other people jacked and fit,
Yep.
to, wow, this is a pretty serious, pretty special job
Yep.
that we can do a lot of good with.
Yep. And that's why I would like to start with that question is, who are you, not what do you do? And all these titles is because as soon as you introduce yourself as what you do, you instantly give this idea of what you do. Like, I mean, if you were to hear someone say they're a personal trainer before you actually were a personal trainer, you would have this idea of them being a jock. Whereas if they're like, actually, I help people get healthy and change their mindset, you're like, oh, how do you do that? Well, I do some personal training. It totally changes it. And that doesn't just go for fitness. It goes for a lot of different aspects in life, right? We're not our titles. And the goal should be to help people with our knowledge and with our services. So, yeah.
I was thinking maybe a better question, how you could rephrase that instead of what do you do without saying titles. It's like, what do you do for others? Or like what, instead of saying I am a personal trainer, what is the value that you are giving or bringing to other people?
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of buzzwords that we can so a lot of the things that, in Simon Sinek's book, the one you were talking about, the Infinite versus Finite Games, he talks about a cause, right? We talked about a why. We talked about a purpose, right? Those are all kind of the same thing. And I think that's the question that needs to be asked more and more is, I think we all are here for a purpose. We all have been given a purpose. And the quicker you can start living into that, not letting fear dictate your actions or what you do, the better. But that's kind of my own side tangent and what I'm interested in. So
Purpose shift.
Drop it. Yep. Instagram purpose shift. Just a fun little, get my thoughts into the world. So you and I share, like you talked about wanting to get into prehab as a physio. I did not start this for that. Like I did not get into, I wanted to just train people, and technically I just wanted to train more myself. But along the way I got some injuries and I started seeking out some things that helped me get out of pain. And that is where movement resolution stem from, is helping people get out of chronic pain and knowing where we can help people with our scope, right? So we are experts in strength conditioning and movement analysis and scaling and all this, and honestly mindset shifts, which is a big part of rehab now. So all that to say is you share that passion with me for movement resolution, helping people get out of pain so they can live happier, healthier lives, right? So talk a little bit about that service in our gym, movement resolution.
Yeah. So I guess I feel like how you talked about with Jaleesa about how you need to you come from somewhere and maybe you've experienced it before in order to truly understand it and help other people relate to it better. So I would say same thing as you, had quite a few injuries that stemmed from volleyball and an initial injury, actually mountain biking, to where my shoulder just keeps either subluxing or dislocating. And it kind of finally happened one last time 2.5-ish years ago. And I said, that's enough. I can't live like this with it feeling so unstable and it hurt doing high volume push-ups, burpees, ring dips, stuff like that. So I said, enough's enough. And I started seeking out services that were different maybe than classic, come in, get some ice on it. We'll do some needling or some electric stim and off you go. Yeah. Because it wasn't working. All the small little exercises weren't doing anything. And once we got into like the focusing on the balance and around the shoulder joint and the strength, balance, the endurance, some of the mobility, because I had quite tight shoulders at that time as well.
Yeah.
It made a huge difference. And I was able to, you know, it had popped out one time when I was trying to do a handstand. It had popped out. And now I feel completely comfortable, right? Doing handstands and walking on my hands and stuff like that. So just getting to a point where, like, to understand what a client is going through, maybe not with their specific injury, maybe. For me, it was shoulders and a little bit of, actually, there was a point where my back was really bad as well. And I couldn't bend over to put socks on without pain. So, like, that's a common one that we get as well. And I can understand that and sympathize with that because I've been there. It sucks to be in pain like that. And so now that wasn't initially what fueled my passion for pain and rehab. Why I wanted to be a physio. I just thought it was cool. And now it's kind of gotten to the point where, wow, I know what it feels like to maybe have to sit on the sidelines or not do what you want to do.
It made it a lot more real.
Exactly. And so that's where I'm kind of coming from when I see someone, especially with shoulder or back or knee sometimes even, like I've been through stuff like that and can relate to it a little bit more and just want to help people feel comfortable in wherever, like regardless of where it is in life. If you want to bend over to pick up your kid, or if you want to, you know, throw them up in the air and you don't want to worry about your shoulder feeling funky or popping out. That's the goal, to help you live the life you want without worry about pain or discomfort or whatnot. Yeah.
And I think that's another thing is that there's a shift. People are starting to notice how strength and conditioning coaches can actually help people get out of pain, right? Within our scope, right? We're never going to put our hands on someone, but we understand different aspects that we've been trained in, right? So we're creating collaborations with different people to help where we're not capable. But again, going back to what I said before, the goal is to help people. And if the real goal is to help people, we should care less about who's helping them or if we can help them or if we can't, and just set up things so that we can just make people better, right?
Takes a team.
Takes a team. Cool. Takes a team. I have another question here for you. What has been, as you're studying for your level 3, what has been the most eye-opening thing for you?
It was the stats on chronic disease were like astounding. I mean, I knew that they were high, right? But like
to put it into context,
on how much of like the medical dollars are going towards chronic disease every year, and how many deaths chronic disease accounts for, and a lot of which are preventable. But it's kind of just gotten to a point where people feel maybe it's kind of normal to develop a chronic disease as you age. And I feel like that's completely wrong.
And we're using acute, sorry, my computer just shut off for a second. Acute measures to attack a chronic thing, right? Like if you bring it back to the physio side to compare it, it would be like us trying to treat someone's broken arm, or with our knowledge, with something that we like a deadlift that works for someone with maybe some chronic pain, or the opposite, someone trying to treat a chronic injury with an acute method, right? So that's kind of what's happening, and it's hard to treat something once it starts to manifest with side effects.
Well, like you said before, you're never going to know what you prevented maybe, but we are kind of shifting in the wrong way in many senses. I feel like we only think about it or want to take care of it after it's happened. After you've got that diagnosis, maybe you're like, oh shoot, now I need to fix something. By then, like, not that it's too late, you can definitely do things to progress and help yourself. But there are also, if you would have started earlier, right? There's a lot of ways that you could have maybe prevented that, but you don't know that while you're doing it earlier on. You don't know what you're preventing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like there's a lot of things out there, right? That the hospital is always going to need to be there. there's going to be emergencies and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
we not saying that we don't need medical services or anything like
100%
that.
we do, yeah.
100% need it. There's just a lot of money and time being put into things that are more preventable if we take ownership of our own lives and, commit to being a little bit healthier and
Yep.
or seeking out the help if you need it. That's the thing. Everyone's got certain skill sets, right? And some of us might not know everything about, I don't know everything about building a house, so I'm not going to go out and try to build my own house.
Right.
But if you don't know as much about health and fitness and how to eat properly, how to properly dose your exercises, how to scale exercises so you can get out of pain and not feel that way.
And continue to work out.
Exactly. Then maybe you do need to seek out some help.
Yeah. And we're just seeing the results of all these bad habits from years ago now, right? Where those statistics we see them now, but they probably were starting way long ago. So we might not see this. You can see there's a shift in people starting to realize like this needs to be a preventative thing. And I hope it continues to go that way, but we might not see the benefit of that for a couple of years or maybe a couple of decades yet, right?
Yeah. I shared an article a couple of days ago saying that pretty soon, if the trends continue the way they are, there are going to be more people with chronic disease than not in the United States.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's close to 50% right now.
Yep.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. It's like, again, in the precision nutrition, is there certification?
The precision nutrition certification?
Yeah, is that what is it? It's a certification, right?
Yeah, level one,
Okay.
or they're
Yeah,
level
the
one
level
coach.
one. Yeah,
level
they
one,
talked
level two
about mowing the lawn when your house is on fire.
Yeah, you're
Right,
ignoring the
Yeah.
most important problem.
Yeah, there's the things we see are just if you try to treat the symptoms, you're not actually treating the cause of why it happened, right?
Exactly.
We need to start, and that's really hard too, because even if you dig deeper, a lot of the things are mindset or lifestyle habits around, food and exercise, and just no one's in community anymore. So that's another big thing about CrossFit gyms, right? They're creating a community where we're in a time now where people are so connected yet so disconnected, right? We're all connected by the internet, but we're so disconnected in person.
Mm-hmm.
And we are made to be in community, and being outside of that is starting to show with a lot of mental health statistics as well. I'm not an expert in that. I don't want to dive too deep into there, but yeah, we can help a lot of people.
Yep, absolutely.
And as soon as you shift your mind from not panicking, I shouldn't say, but I was going to say playing the victim, but how can you help? Right? Like when you see these things, what can I do right now that's going to help this?
Instead of thinking like, oh, woe was me. Why did this happen to me?
Yeah. Or who else is going to do this? Just take action and start yourself.
How can I help to remedy this?
Yep.
And take it into, like, that's a big mindset shift, like you said. But there's whatever the quote is, nothing changes unless you do.
Right.
Right. Like, I mean, they're cliche quotes, but I feel like
once you start
cliche
to understand
for a reason.
them,
It's cliche for a reason because it's true.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we look at quotes and it's just like it makes you feel good for a second. But if you actually look at them, it's like, and same thing like reading a book, even if it's just shorter text, if you can apply it, that makes it beneficial. But if you just look at it and say, "Oh, that made me feel good," you're not really utilizing it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to touch on before we get to the closing questions?
What are your closing questions?
Well, I can't tell you until I know, because then once we get to the closing questions, we can't go back. There's nothing else.
There's no going back.
No, just kidding.
No, let's get to it.
Okay, so I did not show Tom, he has no clue what the questions are, so that makes it funner.
Oh boy.
Name one thing on your bucket list.
Would love to do. My aunt lives in Cyprus, and I've never gone to see her yet in Cyprus. So I'd love to do a Cyprus, Greece, Italy trip.
That'd be unreal.
Yeah, that's been up there.
So that's the goal. You just create small little steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Easy peasy.
Start saving.
You're already Cyprus.
Yeah, starting saving now.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. I like that. Yep. The goal is to help people. If you could give one piece of wisdom or advice you think could help someone from this from that word of advice, what would it be that they can take action on?
Just understanding how powerful mindset is, and switching it to, like you said, a kind of thinking of you are more in control, and switching to more of a growth mindset than a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
I think is huge. And realizing that, like I said, you are in control of a lot of things. There are some things, of course, that you aren't, but you are in control of many things in your life. And instead of thinking, I'm the victim, why did this happen to me? Switch that to be, okay, how can I fix this? How can I get better? How can I get healthier? How can I get fitter?
Yeah.
And take that and run with it and make some changes. We can help you, of course, but no one can switch that mindset for you. That's got to come. We can talk about it all we want, all day long, but it's in a kind of like an internal switch, I think.
Yeah.
That you just got to flick on. And I don't know the magic way to flip it on. Takes a little bit of practice. Like every situation you're in, the more you start thinking about it, the more you strengthen it, the more
consistency and momentum, right? Doing one small little thing, take action on one thing you heard in this podcast. Doesn't matter how small. And then that'll slowly build from momentum.
Yep.
Good to go.
Yep. That's huge.
Yes, I agree. What is one of the most impactful things someone has said or done for you?
This one's hard.
That's said, yeah.
Most impactful thing someone has said or done for me.
This is called dead air.
Yeah. How do we fill it? I need to think
harder.
harder.
We'll talk a bit.
I need to think harder.
It doesn't even have to be something grand. Because in reality, it's little things anyway.
Yeah. This is why it's good to not ask the questions beforehand, because then it's truthful. You gotta really think on it. It's on the spot. Ponder. It's not pre-thought up. Oh my gosh. I'm sure there are so many things. Why can't I think of anything?
Well, you're getting married in July.
There you go.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm just talking while you think.
I remember, well, maybe that thing. My dad, when I was young, I remember going on a first date, going to pick someone up.
Yeah.
And he was like, the first thing he said when I walked out the door, or the last thing he said before I walked out the door, be respectful.
Oh, yeah.
Just above all else, be respectful. And I guess that him saying that always stuck with me regardless of where I went.
Yeah.
And trying to live up to that. And of course, there are times when you slip up regardless, but like you always tried to live up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And oftentimes it's the little things that are impactful, right? And the right words said in the right situation.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, I don't know, we'll go with that.
Yeah, that's really good. Yep. Nicely done. So where can we find you, Tom?
Well, a few places.
Yeah, you're all over
I'm either at the gym, at the gym, or at home. Don't follow me at home. I won't. I won't put my
address is
no. On Instagram, it's at Coach Tom Regier, and I've got a Facebook page as well.
You're sharing your story on
sharing
doing level 3.
Exactly. So sharing the story on the process to becoming a level 3, and just kind of educating people on health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, the whole shebang.
Yep.
And kind of, if anyone is considering becoming a coach, like I'm trying to drop some things on there about maybe some of the more subtle things that people don't necessarily think about, like I didn't before I thought about being a coach, personal trainer. So it's mainly about the studying, but it also is just educating as well as I go through. I find that I learn and apply a lot better, or I learn better because I am applying it and sharing it. Yeah. And I need to know what I'm talking about. Need to know what I'm talking about before I go live on Instagram or something like that.
Yep. We're also planning to really kind of relaunch our movement resolution side that Tom and myself and Deanna program for. We're excited to help as many people if we can with that. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, really excited about that.
Yep.
Had some great success with people in the gym, and now it's trying to launch it a little bit further.
Yep.
Into maybe people that can't come into our gym.
Yep.
And stuff like that.
It's going to be awesome.
Launch it out.
Launch it to the
Send it.
world.
Send it.
Send it. Okay. This has been fantastic. Tom, thanks for joining me. I'm sure we'll have you on again.
Thank you. We could talk probably for hours.
Yeah, we could talk about books and our dogs. Your dog Neville.
Oh yeah, little
He's
Neville.
fast.
Devil Neville.
Neville.
He's good.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in today's podcast where we chatted with Thomas Regier. If you are interested in the services we offer, or you feel like someone could benefit from being a part of our gym, please send this right on over to them. We'll also include the links to our website along with our gym, CrossFit Camrose, along with Movement Resolution in the show notes. You can follow Thomas at Thomas Regier, or rather, Coach Tom Regier on Instagram and Facebook, where he's taking you through his journey of becoming a level 3 CrossFit trainer. Thanks for joining. Catch you next time.